house. Wednesday, SANE certified coach extraordinaire is in the house. Oh my goodness. Leanne is in the house. Catherine is in the house. Book Lady Davida is in the house. Oh my gosh, we got people rolling in from all over the world. Welcome everybody. Thank you for being prompt and for sharing your Tuesday evening with me. We have an action-packed session tonight and it's going to be a lot of fun. If you haven't already, please make sure you refresh your page. That is the magic solution to all technical problems, and we are going to go ahead and get started. As you can see, you have a bunch of wonderful SANE Ignite family members as well as some SANE certified coaches here in attendance, chatting live. Please go ahead and feel free to participate in that live chat conversation. It is a bunch of fun, and as you've hopefully seen throughout your SANE Ignite program and family, you are not going to find a more supportive and loving and science-based community anywhere in the world. We are so proud of our family and our team, and I hope you enjoy these interactions as much as we do. So please feel free to participate in the chat. If you don't want to participate in the chat, or if you're new or anything like that, it is 100% all good. You can actually still ask questions. And in fact, I would urge you to ask questions using the question box at the bottom of the page, because I cannot actually keep up with the chat. I can't follow it. So if you've got a question for me, or if you want to get my attention, please use the question box at the bottom of the page. Again, please go there now, submit your questions if you've got them. And one thing, actually two things to keep, actually there's a bunch of things to keep in mind. So I'm just gonna stop saying how many I'm gonna say. One thing to keep in mind is that anything is fair game in these sessions. This is such a unique and fun opportunity. We've got 90 minutes together here live. There's only one thing that we cannot cover together here, nor can we cover anywhere in your SANE Ignite program. And you might be saying, well, what is that? Because the SANE Ignite program is so comprehensive. It is medical advice. It is actually illegal to provide medical advice over the internet, and you deserve better than that. So please do not accept medical advice from anyone over the internet, and know that nothing we say is ever medical advice. We are here to help you with your sanity, and please, please, please see us as a member of your wellness team, and be sure to always work with your primary care physician. But other than that, holy moly, we can, in fact, I want to do some crazy stuff tonight. I want to do together. I want us to create something here. That's what I love about these calls, is if at all possible, you know, hopefully by now, that your SANE Ignite program is comprehensive. It is comprehensive, right? That is our goal, is to make it the last investment in wellness you ever need to make. Because once you're a member of the SANE Ignite family, you're a member of the family, and we want to take care of you for the rest of your life. So the program is comprehensive. And as you've seen, hopefully, you've got, boom, your step-by-step program, which in the very first course in your step-by-step program, where you see the quick start videos, you're going to see a printable checklist of all the lessons within your step-by-step program. And I call this out, one, because it is arguably the most important. I would say it's tied with your coaching and support group as the most important aspect of your SANE Ignite program. But I call it out, and I call out your SANE coaching and support group, because there is a lot of stuff covered within your SANE Ignite program, and 99.99% of questions are just handled so beautifully by your SANE certified coaches in the coaching and support group and on your live one-on-one coaching calls. So I'd love for us to use this time to go deep, to really dig into some gnarly topics that really require this kind of live interaction. I'm talking cutting edge stuff. I'm talking digging into the science, getting down in there and covering things that we cannot cover anywhere else in the program. And that is just such a unique opportunity. So let's make sure we take advantage of this unique opportunity. Give me your toughest questions, and we'll see what we can do to help with them here live, unplanned, unscripted. And the good news is, this is going to be recorded, so if anything doesn't make sense, I have two requests for you. One, just go ahead and watch the call back. You can check this out within 72 hours in your SANE Ignite program. When you log in, just go down to the footer and click something on like coaching calls, and you'll see it there. But my other request is that we are going to go fast, and we are going to go deep in these calls, right? This, your step-by-step program, this is where you go. You know, this is the shallow end that slowly and gradually takes you into the deep end and gives you, just like, you know, it's like first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. It's structured just like school, so you can work your way until you graduate from Sanity. But think of these calls. These calls are going straight into the deep end. So not everything is going to make sense, and that is not your fault at all. But I promise it will make sense as you go through your step-by-step program. You can watch the call back and start to say, oh, that's what Jonathan, he said gluconeogenesis. Now I know what that means. And how cool is that? That we're actually talking about real science and real stuff, not just crazy gimmicks and other nonsense that doesn't really work, right? We're going to talk about some proven science, biology, psychology, endocrinology, neurobiology, and just any other tongue twister you can throw at me that I can try to practice my pronunciation with. We're going to go over. So please don't let anything scare you or intimidate you. We're intentionally going deep, but know that your SANE certified coaches are here to help you 24/7, 365 with any questions, and your step-by-step program is going to take you through everything one step at a time. All right, does that sound good? I'm excited. We have a lot of questions to cover today. But before we get into those questions, I mentioned your step-by-step program. And if you haven't seen it already, we actually just released some new quick start videos, which are really helpful, and they are available in the first part of your step-by-step program. So please, if you've got a pen and a piece of paper, and just in case you don't know what a pen and a piece of paper look like, this is what they look like. And I've got my pen and piece of paper here. Please write down on your pen and piece of paper, check out the step-by-step program. There is no more important thing that you can do daily with your sanity than to say every day or every other day, I am going to complete one lesson in my step-by-step program. Many of them only take 5 minutes. Some of them take a little bit longer, but it's worth it. And pop into the coaching and support group and either support someone else or ask a question yourself. Just do that once a day. It doesn't have to take any longer than 10 minutes, and it will make all the difference, right? It will make all the difference. But what we're going to do today is celebrate some of our top contributors in that coaching and support group, which if you haven't gone over there, you're going to the step-by-step program, but please do pop over to your coaching and support group. It is amazing. And you're going to see there's a bunch of we do what's called gamification, where you win like badges and awards. And it's a pretty cool environment where it's basically the more you help other people and the more help that you get, the more rewards you get. And that's a pretty cool dynamic. I wish more things in life worked that way. So it's just been an amazing past couple of weeks, but I want to specifically give some shout outs to some top contributors. And that is, of course, Leilani Springer, always bringing her A game and just a wonderful contributor. Thank you so much, Leilani. Alicia Lee, thank you so much. Jennifer Gadsden, Fagan O'Reilly, Lisa, whose last name has a lot of letters in it. Lisa, I'm so sorry. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name, but let's just say Lisa K. Thank you so much. Cece, Leanne Martin, and Della Fultz. Thank you so much for your exceptional contributions, and thank you to everyone else. And as always, hopefully you've seen your SANE certified coaches are just gems. So please pop over there, and hopefully everyone can see and hear me. I'll say it one more time. If you can't see or hear me, please refresh your page. And if you want to chat, that's awesome. If you don't want to chat, that's all good. You can still ask questions at the bottom of the page, completely independent of the chat. And in fact, if you do have questions, please don't use the chat. Please use the question box. And I think we'll get started. How's that sound? All right, cool. Let me just check real quick to see if anyone is having technical problems here in my little secret communication channel that the coaches send me messages on. Okay, no, looks like we're rocking and rolling, so we will get right into our questions. Question number 1, is it better to use SANE sugar substitute or stevia? I love this. Well, let me give a quick disclaimer before I answer this question. And if you've been to one of these sessions before, you've heard this before, but hopefully you like it every time you hear it. If you hear a specific question that you don't think applies to you, please don't leave or turn this off, because one of the things you're going to notice that's different about SANE than probably what you've experienced before is that since SANE is based on over 15 years of peer-reviewed research and over 1,300 research studies spanning not just nutrition, but neurobiology, endocrinology, gastroenterology, cognitive behavioral therapy, we've really assembled a comprehensive way to look at mindset, also the way you eat, and also the way you move. And because of that, even a very specific question, we can always tie back to the fundamental underlying principles that lead to that answer. And that's why when you look through your SANE program, when you look in your coaching and support group, and when you come on these calls, you're always going to have a consistent experience, because these aren't just opinions or whims or trends. This is just science. So the science stays the same. And I want to make sure that you understand that science, because that's the key difference, right? There's a big difference between listening to a GPS in your car that tells you which direction to turn and understanding how to drive and having a great sense of direction, right? Because when you understand how to drive and you understand the rules of the road and you have a great sense of direction, it doesn't matter what happens. Like, GPS can be great, but if your GPS breaks, what happens? Or if your GPS needs to get updated, what happens? If your GPS runs out of batteries, or forget about the GPS, if you don't understand the rules of the road and you don't know which pedal in the car is the accelerator and which one is the brake, and you don't know which side of the road to drive on, it doesn't matter how good the GPS is, you're going to get in a wreck. So what we want to do is prevent you from getting in a wreck. And we want to make sure that you can get from where you are today to where you want to go in the future, no matter what twists and turns come up in the way. And because of that, it's critical that you understand the rules of the road and you understand the underlying concepts and premises, right? We've all tried the top 10 lists. We've all tried the quick fixes. We've all tried the meal plans, which say eat exactly this at exactly this time, but then we don't have that in a refrigerator, or we have to go to a birthday party and they don't have that. So how does it work? And then they say to do exactly this. Look, we've all done. I promise, if you're here tonight, you've done things that are intensely more complicated and intensely more difficult than sane eating and smarter exercise. So you can do this. There is no question. You are capable. You've done so much more complicated and so much more difficult things in your life. However, you haven't been given the proper information. So you could have the most smart, diligent person in the world, such as yourself. But if you're smart and diligent and you're in Texas and you're trying to drive to Canada and someone points you south, it doesn't matter how smart and diligent you are, you ain't gonna ever get to Canada, unfortunately. But if you're smart and diligent and someone gives you a proper map and a proper compass and points you in the right direction and you know where you're going, you can get there. You might not get there tomorrow, you might not get there next week, but if you keep going, you'll always get there. So we're gonna show you how to get there. And even if there's a question that doesn't seem like it applies to you, I promise I'm going to tie it back to you in a general sense. Let me give you an example. This question, is it better to use SANE sugar substitute or stevia? The answer is, it depends. And that's how a lot of things with nutrition and exercise are. So let me unpack that. First, let me explain the question a little bit. So stevia is a non-caloric herb that has a sweet-like taste. So you've probably heard of things like sucralose or aspartame. These are unnatural, artificial, non-caloric sweeteners. They do not contain any calories, but they are synthetic, and they've shown to have some detrimental impact on the brain and on the body. Now, there are also non-caloric herbs that have a sweet taste. One of those is stevia, another is lo han go. Now, these are a bit different because stevia, for example, is best thought of as cinnamon. Like stevia, if you take pure stevia and you lick it, it will not taste like sugar at all. In fact, it will taste very, very bitter because it's hundreds, if not thousands of times sweeter than sugar. So you use very small trace amounts of it. It's more like cinnamon. You would think about it like cinnamon, where cinnamon flavors food. Stevia also flavors food, but its flavor is sweetish, but it's not like sugar. It doesn't taste good on its own. Then you have things, so that's stevia, that's lo han go. They're herbs that have a sweet-ish flavor. But for example, if you took a recipe and it said, put in 2 cups of sugar, and instead you put in 2 cups of stevia, you would not want to eat that. It would not taste very good at all. And then we have another category. So right, we had synthetic, non-caloric sweeteners, artificial sweeteners. And then we have herbal, just herbs, which have a sweet taste-ish. And then we have natural, non or barely caloric sweeteners, such as xylitol and erythritol. And I know that sounds chemically, but xylitol and erythritol are called sugar alcohols, and they are, for example, xylitol is derived from birch bark. It is found in birch bark, which is delicious. I don't know if you've licked a birch tree recently, but it is quite fantastic. No, just kidding. But it is derived from birch bark or from corn, just like, for example, sugar is derived from sugar beets or sugar cane. So xylitol, erythritol are as natural as sugar is. They are found in plants and then extracted out. And these sugar alcohols can be used more like straight up sugar substitutes, not ounce for ounce, and not gram for gram, but it is definitely closer to, if you had a recipe that called for 2 cups of sugar, doing something like 2 cups of xylitol will kind of work plus or minus a little bit. So which is better? It depends on the context. From a pure sanity perspective, since xylitol and erythritol do contain some calories. So xylitol contains a bit more calories than erythritol. Both are almost negligible because they're sugar alcohols and they're not readily digested by your body. They're very inefficient. That's the E in SANE. So when it comes to losing fat, eating inefficient calories, calories that aren't efficiently stored as fat, is a good thing. So from a pure sanity perspective, an herb like stevia and lohango would be saner because these calories from any form of sweetener are not particularly satisfying. That's the S in SANE. Fortunately, natural non-caloric sweeteners are not aggressive, so that's not an issue. That's the A in SANE. The N, nutritious, how many essential vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids do the calories provide? No sweetener provides really any amount, and yes, honey has trace amounts, but it also has a bunch of other bad stuff in it, which is no good. And then from an efficiency perspective, they're about the same. So when we're looking at calories that don't really contribute any nutrition to our lifestyle, stevia and lohango from a sanity perspective would be the better option because they're herbs, no calories at all, none. And it's not that calories are bad, but we want to maximize the quality of our calories. And since these calories are not providing us with abundant nutrition, they're not really helping us. So minimizing them with stevia and lohango would not be a bad idea. However, it's like, well, Jonathan, you sell a SANE slimming sugar substitute, both xylitol and erythritol on the SANE store. So what's the deal? Well, here's the deal. To try to bake or to try to do anything except maybe sweeten a beverage with stevia or lohango is very, very difficult. Very difficult. They are not necessarily sugar substitutes. So if you're baking or preparing a recipe, using a slimming sugar substitute like erythritol or xylitol will work better. It's very difficult to bake with anything other than xylitol or erythritol. Let's put it that way from a SANE perspective. So which is better from a pure, hey, I want to put a strawberry in my blender with some water and make some SANE flavored water, but I'd like to sweeten it up a little bit. I would recommend in that context, which is better would be a lohango or a stevia. However, if you want to bake or cook, I would recommend erythritol or xylitol. They will cook better. So the answer to which is better is it depends on the context. And hopefully that helps. Thank you. And that's an excellent question. And please, if you do have follow-ups to your question, if you wouldn't mind, in the question box, just type follow-up in all caps and then type your question, and that'll help me tie it back to your original question. All right, let me grab a drink of water here real quick. All right, rock and roll. Next question. Can you explain how insane foods cause inflammation in the body and how that affects the body over time? Inflammation is a big topic, but I want to try to distill this down to you in a way that you can describe to your friends and family tomorrow. You want to be the most popular person at the next party you go to? Just break down how inflammation works, because that is a great way to make friends. But here it's actually really, really helpful, because inflammation is one of these terms, even like calories or like electrolytes, that we hear. Like, electrolytes, they're good, but no one's really explained what is an electrolyte and why is it good, and should I just drink Gatorade instead of water when I'm working because electrolytes are good, or is it for sports? What's going on? So there are these phrases that are used a lot, And it's great to actually understand what they mean so that we can apply this knowledge into our lives. So inflammation is a big one. When someone says, you have chronic inflammation in your body, they're talking about the same thing, where if you cut your hand and you notice that the skin becomes red and swollen, that is the same inflammation. Or anything, for example, like rheumatoid arthritis, or if you pull a muscle and you see bruising, there's inflammation happening. Your body has become inflamed. And that is a way of just describing that your body is saying, look, something broke, something happened. Now I need to deploy my resources to go and fix that. Think of inflammation. Actually, never described it this way, but I think it'll be helpful. Inflammation. Let's break it down. There's a flame, okay? So you got a flame. If something catches on fire outside of your body, what do? We call the fire department. So we call the fire department. The fire department deploys fire people that come. So you got a bunch of fire people, fire trucks, chaos. They put the fire out and then they leave. And that's kind of what your body does. Obviously not with fire trucks, but there is a problem. Something catches on fire. For example, you cut your hand. That is a metaphorical fire that your body needs to put out to avoid infection and other badness. So it deploys, let's call them metabolic firefighters, to your hand to put out that fire, that inflammation. I'm going to put out that flame. Now, we can have chronic inflammation throughout our body. This is what happens when we eat toxic foods, when we don't get enough sleep, when we're highly stressed. What this does is essentially, like when you think about cardiovascular disease. What is cardiovascular disease? Cardiovascular disease is the arterial walls within your body are inflamed. They're not working as they should. There is something wrong. They're on fire. And technically what happens is your body then deploys LDL cholesterol as part of the firefighting, right? So it patches up the walls. And then HDL cholesterol comes, and when the wall is healed, it takes it away. And you've probably heard, and unfortunately this is just bad 40-year-old information, which is in the process of being fixed, that the problem is that you have too much cholesterol. But that's a little bit like saying that the problem with this burning building is that there are too many firefighters there. That the firefighters are not the problem. The firefighters are there to fix the problem. The problem is the inflamed, there we go, the inflamed arterial walls, and then cholesterol comes by like a scab on your hand to take care of that. Anytime that we subject our body to things that don't nurture it, be it insane food, be it insane, stressful, shame-based information into our brain, be it no physical activity or the wrong kind of physical activity, we experience just body-wide global inflammation. And this chronic inflammation just breaks us in all sorts of non-specific ways over time. And what I mean by that is, imagine that you had a car. It's probably pretty easy to imagine that. So think about your car. Don't imagine your car. Think about your car and imagine that some trickster came by, and every time you went to the gas station to put gasoline in your car, they laced your gasoline with 10% maple syrup. There you go. So you're filling your car up with 90% gasoline, 10% maple syrup. So chances are your car might run okay for a while, but after a few years, maybe not that long, of a chronic input of things that it is not designed to handle, weird stuff is going to start to happen. The car might start making some weird noises. It might start shaking. It might have a hard time starting. And all of us would say, what did I do? The car just started making a weird sound. What did I do yesterday that cause this weird sound to happen. That's just how our human brain works. Well, unfortunately, and this is why some of these chronic diseases like diabetes and heart disease and cardiovascular disease become such challenges, is it's not what we did yesterday. It's not what we did last week. It's that we have chronic inflammation, which then manifests itself as things like anxiety, depression, diabetes, Alzheimer's, prediabetes, cancer, because our body has been chronically subjected to inputs that it is not designed to handle. Because of that, it's a little bit like you've had a low-grade fever. Your whole body has been inflamed for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And so then what we do is, just like with our car, we'd go to the mechanic and we'd ask her, hey, this very specific problem happened. What's the very specific solution? And in that instance, the mechanic hopefully would be like, holy moly, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I don't know what's been going on for the past 3 years, but it looks like you've got maple syrup everywhere. But when we go to the doctor, for example, we say, hey, I'm suffering from arthritis, or I'm suffering from diabetes, or I'm suffering from thyroid problems. What is the one cause of that, and what is the one solution? But what we're learning more and more over time is that that's just not the way our body works. These different diseases are all symptoms of this underlying chronic inflammation, and the same thing that you do to help relieve the symptoms of heart disease are very similar to the things you do to relieve the symptoms of arthritis, which are very similar to the things you do to resolve hormonal issues, which are very similar to the things you do to drop chronic inflammation, which is to increase the quality of the food you eat, decrease your negative stress levels, increase your social support and love, increase your sleep, and also improve the quality of your physical movement. By doing that, you will literally reverse the inflammation that throws your appetite and hormones out of whack, that starts in your brain. You will also drop the inflammation in your endocrine system that causes your hormones to get out of balance. And you'll also take care of the dysregulation within your digestive system that causes all sorts of problems. So the short answer is that inflammation is a little bit like having a metabolic flu or a metabolic fever for years and years and years, and that your body constantly trying to fight through that. Just like if you had a building that was on fire and never went out, and those firefighters were out there and they're spraying water and they're not taking bathroom breaks and they're not eating and they're not sleeping, eventually they're just going to be like, ugh. And so that actually leads to autoimmune disease, because the body is just worn out. It's like, I can't fight anymore. And that's why you're here, go insane, because what we want to do, the reason we say eat more but smarter, is we want to provide a therapeutic level of nutrition that feeds those firefighters and that calms that fire. It's a little bit like when you eat more sane foods. Imagine that you had that fire raging in that apartment building, and then a beautiful rain started falling on it, and then a lovely sane food truck pulled up and started to feed those firefighters. So now you've got robust, energetic firefighters, and you've also got a wonderful spring shower coming down, helping to put out that apartment building. You got the 1-2 punch, and you're moving forward. So hopefully that is helpful, and that is a little bit of an overview on inflammation. All right, next. All right, what do we got next here? Oh my goodness, we got a lot of good questions here. I understand that bananas are nutrient dense fruits. Can you explain the pros cons of them? There is so much conflicting information about them. All right, so one thing that's really important, this is the person who asked this question says, I understand that bananas are dense fruits. So I just want to clarify terms here really quick. If you meant dense by they are calorically dense and they are dense with sugar, that is 100% accurate. If you're using the term dense as nutrient dense, they're actually not nutrient dense, and that is the reason we don't call them low fructose fruits. We call them other fruits on the SANE spectrum. So bananas or any other fruit, here's the good news, is we can really simplify this when we look back at the core underlying SANE principles. I don't know if you can see my shirt, but I got my SANE shirt on, right? It's SANE. By understanding SANE, by understanding sane, what it means, you can not only understand why bananas are insane, but you can understand why blueberries are sane. And the same underlying principles apply. And that is, if you look at a banana and you look at the amount of sugar that it provides, and then you look at the amount of vitamins and minerals it provides, the sugar is high and the vitamins and minerals are low. Versus if you look at, for example, blueberries, the sugar is low and the vitamins and minerals are high. So it's sometimes shocking that there is so much conflicting information in the world, because if we can agree, which everyone would agree, that less sugar is a good thing and more essential nutrients is a good thing, then a fruit that has more sugar and less nutrients is not as good for us as a fruit that has more nutrients and less sugar. So that's why bananas are not considered a sane fruit. But here's where the confusion comes into play. People will compare a banana to a Snickers bar, right? So what is better to eat for breakfast? Let's ignore the Snickers bar for a second. What is better to eat for breakfast? A donut or a banana? Absolutely a banana. Why? For the same reason that blueberries are better than a banana. The banana has less sugar, calorie for calorie, and more essential nutrition than a donut. But blueberries have more essential nutrition and less sugar than a banana. What this tells us is there is this myth, there is this big myth that takes place in the nutrition community, and this is worth writing down. The myth is better than equals good. And that is a myth. Please write that down. Better than equals good. Cross that out. Let me give you an example. Eating one donut for breakfast is better than eating 2 donuts for breakfast. But that doesn't make it good. Smoking 1 pack of cigarettes per day is better for you than smoking 2 packs of cigarettes per day, but that doesn't make it good. A banana is saner than a donut, but it is not sane. Blueberries are saner than a banana, and they are sane, but they're not sane because they're better than bananas. They're sane because we have an objective criteria where we can say, are they satisfying? Are they unaggressive? Are they nutritious? And are they inefficient? And they are. Berries and citrus fruits, calorie for calorie, provide us with the most nutrition and the least sugar of all the fruits. And because of that, they are called low fructose fruits. They are the sanest fruits. So the key thing to keep in mind is that just because one thing is better than another thing, it doesn't mean it's good. And if you, that applies to life in general, right? Getting paid $1 an hour for your work is better than getting paid 50 cents an hour, but it's not good, right? So anytime you read something on the internet, first of all, please stop and just focus on your step-by-step program, because I promise it is going to simplify your life. It is going to simplify your life so much because it is consistent and comprehensive. You always have to ask relative to what. So if it's saying, hey, Diet Coke is good for you, well, relative to regular Coca-Cola, yes, but relative to so many other things, no. And the same thing applies to things like whole grains, right? Is quinoa better for you than GMO wheat? Absolutely. Does that mean you should eat it instead of eating green leafy vegetables? No. Green leafy vegetables are even better for you. So the question is not, is it better than? The question is it the best? Because you deserve the best. And you'll notice that even within your sane food groups. You've got nutrient-dense proteins, and within nutrient-dense proteins, we say these are the optimal nutrient-dense proteins, and these are regular good, but they're just not as good as these nutrient-dense protein. Same thing with vegetables, same thing with low fructose fruits, and same thing with whole food fats. Cashews are a whole food fat. They are a good, sane source of fat, but they are not as sane as macadamia nuts. And what's cool about science and what's cool about sanity is you can start out by just, moving down that SANE spectrum, trying to do more non-starchy vegetables, nutrient-dense protein, whole food fats, low fructose fruits. And then as you become more experienced, you can make the optimal selections within each one of those food groups. And as you increase the quality of your eating, the quality of your results increases proportionally, which is super exciting. So the short answer to your question is bananas are not a low fructose fruit. They are in the other fruit category. And while they are better for you than something like a donut, that does not make them sane, and it doesn't make them good for you, simply because I would much rather you eat other fruits, low fructose fruits, such as berries and citrus, because they're going to provide you with way more nutrition along with way less sugar. Great question. Thank you so much. Next one here. Where do nut milks fall in as far as a category? Are they allowed? First and foremost, are they allowed? Anything is allowed. We are not here to say you must do that and you cannot do this. As you've hopefully seen, SANE is a spectrum, right? Non-starchy vegetables are the sanest food in the world. Then you got nutrient-dense protein, whole food fats, low sugar fruits. And then you have the optional categories of if you want good results, you can eat 0 to 2 servings of these per day. And those are things like legumes, certain forms of other fats, other fruits, and then you have insane things like processed fats, sugars, and starches. Now, what are you allowed to eat? You're allowed to eat anything. You can eat anything you want. Our goal is not to judge you, is not to tell you what you must or must not do. Our goal is to give you the freedom to choose based on a medical term called informed consent. And this is a very, very important term to understand, where it is against the law, for example, for a physician to do something to you if they do not explain the medical evidence justifying that. And they need to get your permission. This is called informed consent. This is why when you see those drug commercials on television, it's like, your headache could go away, but you may also go blind. But you have to have informed consent. And to have informed consent, to make a smart, sane choice, you have to have proper science-backed information. So our job here at SANE is to give you that proper science-backed information so that you can make the right choice for you. Let me take my mother as an example. My mother is an incredible woman. She's an incredible woman, and she is happy with her health. Is she at her optimal weight? No. Is she living a vibrant, healthy, wonderful life where her health only empowers her? Yes, absolutely. So you know what? My mom is saner than she's ever been, but sometimes she still eats Cheetos. And she doesn't feel bad about it because she says, you know what? I'm at what we call at SANE nutritional serenity. She is at a physical appearance and a level of physical and mental abilities. I wish you could meet my mom. She's in her 70s. And last time they were here, we put on that song Shout, 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 oh, shout, shout. And my dad, who just had both of his hips replaced, you should have seen these people. They were dancing, bumping hips. I was like, that is awesome, right? So for my mom, she's reached her goals. She's loving life. She's living her best life that she's ever lived here in her 7th decade. And sometimes she eats Cheetos. And you know what? Sometimes she eats ice cream. And you know what? That's all good because she is reaching her goals. We are here to help you reach your goals. So the question of are nut milks allowed? Anything is allowed. The question is, what are your goals? And will nut milks help you to get there? And I know it's a kind of an esoteric answer, but if your goals, for example, are, I want to lose 100 pounds of excess body fat. And by the way, hold on one second here. I think I just saw something. Yes. Okay. So I said 100 pounds of body fat. By the way, Christine, SANE certified coach Christine is in the house. And ask Christine about losing and keeping off over 100 pounds of excess body fat after breaking your neck, because Christine can tell you about that, an amazing woman. And I just saw that she's in the house. So welcome, Christine. But anyway, let's say that you want to lose 100 pounds of excess body fat, and you'd like to do that as quickly as possible. And you don't care about anything else. You just want to do it as fast as you possibly can. You don't have a job. You don't have anyone depending on you. You just want to do it as fast as you possibly can. In that context, I would not recommend drinking nut milks at all. In fact, I would not recommend drinking anything. I would not recommend drinking any beverage that contains calories other than a beverage you created by blending SANE foods. So you can always drink SANE smoothies packed with non-starchy vegetables, no question. But as a general rule of thumb, drinking calories is a bad idea. Calories that you drink are not treated the same by your body as calories you eat. And again, this is not the same for taking spinach, putting it in a blender and blending it up. That is a whole food that you have essentially just pre-chewed. So that's still a whole food. Now, if you juice spinach, that's not a whole food. That's a beverage. But a smoothie is essentially, a SANE smoothie is pre-chewed food. So it does not apply to what I'm saying. But something like a nut milk, again, a nut milk, an almond milk, a rice milk, coconut milk is better for you, no questions asked, than cow's milk or dairy milk of any form. That said, drinking any form of calorie other than a SANE smoothie is not optimal. That said, if you're not after optimal, my mother, for example, is not after optimal. She loves what she's got, so she's rocking it. And she does, so yeah, this is a great example. She used to drink dairy milk. She still drinks dairy milk in her coffee. I have recommended to her that she switches to coconut milk. She doesn't like coconut milk as much as she likes almond milk, so she does a 50-50 almond coconut blend. If you're going to drink a nut milk, it is better to drink nut milks than it is to drink a dairy milk. The sanest nut milk is a coconut milk. I believe you can sometimes find macadamia nut milk. Almond milk is a good choice, but coconut is going to be the sanest due to the types of fats found in it. But again, if you can focus on drinking non-caloric SANE beverages such as water, green tea, white tea, black tea, and unsweetened coffee, and again, you could use coconut milk or almond milk in your coffee, that's going to optimize your sanity. But please remember that optimal sanity does not have to be your goal at all. It's important to have complete information so that you can choose the rate and the extent of your sanity. And maybe you want to dial it up and maybe you want to dial it down. And just one more time, when it comes to nut milks, they are permitted. However, they are not optimal. If you were to drink them, if your choice is drink dairy milk or nut milk, drink nut milk. And if you're open to suggestions, coconut milk is the best of the nut milks, and then almond milk would be second on that list. Rock and roll. All right, next question here. Last week, I mentioned multiple smoothies in your fridge. How long is it reasonable to reserve leftovers? At least a week in the fridge. It depends on how fresh the vegetables are. That's one thing you want to be careful of, is you never really know. For example, I put kale in my smoothies. It's a little bit more advanced. But when you buy really fresh kale, it is hard. It's tough. It's like cabbage. But you'll notice that if you let kale sit in your fridge for a while, it becomes a little bit mush. It becomes a little bit mush. So if your smoothie was created with mushy, week-old kale, the smoothie itself is not going to last very long. Whereas if the smoothie was made with fresh kale, most vegetables, just think of your smoothie like you would think of a vegetable. So if you're putting spinach in your smoothie and the spinach has a best by date on it of 1 week from today, your smoothie is fine 1 week from today. Just keep it refrigerated. If you want to make it last even longer, freeze it. This is what a lot of people do, myself included, if you're going to travel, is you freeze your smoothie and then you take it out, you put it in your lunch pail or bag or box, and you use it as an ice pack and let it thaw. It might separate a little bit, but general rule of thumb is the smoothie will last as long as the ingredients within it. So hopefully that helps. And yes, I do batch blend all of my smoothies on the weekend. If you check out my refrigerator, which I think you can actually in the step-by-step program. So yet another reason to check out your step-by-step program. You will see that there is, if we filmed on a Sunday, you would see that there is an entire shelf of green mason jars that contain my smoothies for the week. I love to listen to audiobooks with some earbuds in, because the Vitamix tends to be loud, and to get all of my blending in on weekends so that I can just enjoy those smoothies casually throughout the week. And yes, about a week is what they last. All right, next question here. When your body starts to attack your muscles because of an autoimmune disorder, what can you do to help prevent that? And then there's some medical information here about creatine phosphokinase levels are 2001 fall below. Having constant muscle pain and weakness. Will SANE help with this? Fantastic question. And hopefully the earlier answer was yes. And let me give a quick. This is really important, and it might seem like common sense, so forgive me, but we know sometimes common sense is not common practice. And with all the insane information that we hear every day, sometimes reminders of the simple stuff is good. At the end of the day, a sane lifestyle, the reason SANE is so effective is not because it has anything to do with me. It's not because, SANE is the Jonathan Bailor magic diet. It isn't, right? If you look in the Calorie Myth, that book is predicated on 1,300 research studies. I and all your SANE certified coaches, we feel so blessed to be here to articulate to you the proven clinical findings from the top minds in the world, from Harvard, Johns Hopkins, UCLA, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, so on and so forth. And what that research shows, and what the SANE acronym stands for, is eating satisfying foods. That's the S. Foods that fill you up and keep you full for a long time. And we know that eating foods that keep us full and satisfied versus like Pringles, which are engineered to make us hungry, right? Once you pop, you can't stop. That's good for us. And we know that eating unaggressive, the A, foods that don't cause hormonal chaos, that has to be good for us. And eating nutritious, nutrient-dense foods, the N, right? More essential amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals. Those foods have to be better for us than foods with less nutrition, calorie for calorie. And then E, inefficient, foods that our body cannot readily store as fat have to be helpful for fat loss. That's just the definition of those foods. So if we are putting, think about your body back to the car. If we're putting low quality fuel into a car, the car is going to experience all sorts of problems, and it might take it might take 50,000 miles for those symptoms to manifest. If we start putting high quality fuel into our car, it has to get better. Now, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean the car will miraculously in 2 weeks go back to the way it was when you drove it off the lot. Doesn't mean that at all. But what it does mean, let's phrase it differently. Hopefully we can agree that there is no world in which a medical condition will get better by eating less healthy foods. And I know that sounds a little bit silly, and part of the reason that kind of logic hasn't been helpful in the past is because we didn't have a clear definition of what healthy food is. It seems like every week it's, are eggs healthy? Eggs are going to kill you. Eggs are great for you. Eggs are going to kill you. Eggs are great for you. Fat will kill you. Fat's good for you. Fat will kill you. Fat's good for you. So it's very confusing, but SANE doesn't change. It's the constant science that always makes sense. So once we have a definition of healthy, right now you ask 10 people on the street, are bananas healthy? You're going to get 10 different answers, right? That's why the question earlier was a great one. But you take any food, you ask anybody that understands SANE, and it's going to always fit on the same spot in the SANE spectrum. So now that we have an objective, scientifically proven measure of whether or not something is healthy, and that's important, right? If you ask McDonald's, literally, what is healthy? They will tell you they're the items on our menu that have fewer than 400 calories. Those are the healthy choices. Now, I don't know about you, but if a hamburger that is this big is unhealthy, if you just take that hamburger and shrink it so that it has under 400 calories, how did it just become healthy? Like if a full cigarette is bad for you, a shorter cigarette is less bad for you, but it's not healthy. So saying that if something has few calories in it, that it's healthy, that's confusing and wrong. Or saying that because something is organic, right? Unfortunately, I love Whole Foods, but this happens all the time at Whole Foods. Actually, this happens at Costco, my favorite store. I was at Costco over the weekend. They had on sale 5-pound bags of all natural organic cane sugar. So there's 3 marketing tricks happening there. All natural, organic, cane, fancy, sugar. It's sugar. Organic sugar is still bad for you. If you put organic tobacco in a cigarette, it's still bad. Tobacco is natural. Just because something is organic or just because something is natural doesn't mean it's healthy. Snake venom is also natural. That doesn't mean it's healthy. The internet is unnatural, although I would argue that what we're doing right now is very healthy, and it is only possible because of the internet. So we see these things like, what is healthy? But now that we know, healthy is foods that fill us up, don't wreck our hormones, provide us with an abundance of essential nutrition, and are not efficiently stored as fat, sane foods, right? That at the end of the day, sane solution, your entire SANE team, we are here because of a patent on an algorithm which determines it's like quantitative analysis scoring system for qualitative, blah, 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 where we can objectively measure the healthiness of foods. And this is a long way of saying there is no world in which, now that we have an objective definition of healthy foods, and I think we can all agree on this, where eating more healthy, sane foods so that we're too full for insane, addictive, toxic, and inflammatory foods won't help us. It has to help us. Now, it'll help some of us faster than others. It will help some conditions more than others, but it will help. And that's why we always focus on just make baby steps, right? Just start going sane and then just keep doing it. There is no world, I swear to you, and the greatest science in the world and common sense proves, there is no world in which if you continuously, slowly and gradually increase the satiety, decrease the hormonal damage, increase the nutrition, and decrease the efficiency of the foods you eat, which sounds complicated, but it's just non-starchy vegetables, nutrient-dense protein, whole food fats, low fructose fruits, in that order, eating so many of them in that order that you're too full for insane starches and sweets. It is impossible for you not to look and feel better over time. Will you look and feel better as fast as you want? No. We're all that way, right? Everything in life doesn't go as fast as we want. We live in a microwave culture. Twitter, 146 characters or whatever, like hashtag quick fix, right? We all want that. It's fine. But because you're here, you're a cut above. You understand. Look, on some level, human beings, we're unique in that we can think about our thinking. It's called metacognition. And that's the key thing here. We want, all of us, it's not bad. We all want it. I don't care what it is. We want results now. We want results now. What I can promise you, and what the greatest science in the world can prove to you, is that while there's very little in life that's worthwhile, that will provide immediate results, what we can tell you is the appropriate direction to head in, and that if you continue to walk in that direction, that you must get positive results. And in fact, there's no, please don't stop walking, right? If it might take a while to walk from Texas to Canada, but if you're pointed north, you will get there. And there is no scenario in which stopping walking or going left or right will help. So please just keep walking and you will get there. You have to. It's just the way the body works. It's just biology, which is really, really cool. All right, let me get some water here real quick. A next question, this is a quick one. What superfoods can I add to my smoothie for a thyroid issue? Kelp. So just go ahead, check it out at the SANE store. It says thyroid enhancing thyroid kelp. Something about thyroid. Search for the word thyroid. Kelp. It's a wonderful natural source of highly biologically available iodine, which helps with thyroid issues. And of course, a sane lifestyle in general will radically help with thyroid issues and hormone issues in general. Next one here is when living in an isolated place like Jamaica and deep Alaska, the ability to access sane foods is limited and or more expensive than in the 48 states. Any idea how to help make this easier and financially feasible? First of all, that's pretty cool that you live in Jamaica or Alaska. Alaska is one of my favorite vacation spots in the world. It is absolutely beautiful. There's some good news. So for places like Jamaica, for example, I know this is going to sound a little bit silly, but America, the 48 states, has one of the most toxic food supplies in the world. If you go to Europe, for example, or Asia, the quality of meat, the quality of produce, I mean, the agribusiness industry in the United States has really done a disservice to a lot of our foods. That's why superfoods become so important. However, the point there is that even if you're in a rural area, while it may not be as easy to get some sane foods, the foods you're getting are likely way less GMO, pesticide, soil depleted than you would actually find in an industrialized area. So that's actually a good thing. The other thing that can be very helpful is to work with what you got. For example, if you're in Alaska, salmon, boom, seafood all day. Wild caught Alaskan salmon, fantastic. Rock the seafood. In Jamaica, I would imagine produce selection has got to be grand. And then on top of that, no matter where you are in the world, and this is something that I only recently discovered a couple of years ago, the internet is a great place to buy food. And I know that sounds a little bit silly, but for really anything other than produce, I get almost all of my seafood canned, because getting wild caught canned seafood is way more affordable than fresh wild caught seafood. Amazon.com, subscribe and save is a fantastic option. If you haven't tried it, you sign up for an automatic delivery. We have something similar in the SANE store, and you get free shipping and a discount. It's phenomenal. So anything that you could get canned, obviously in a BPA-free canned, protein sources, easy to get canned. And then for vegetables, obviously anything you could do with like a powdered vegetable like we have in the SANE store would be wonderful, but hopefully you do have access to some fresh produce where you're at. And then for our whole food fats, another great option for the internet. We've got some for you in the SANE store. Amazon is also, there's a company called Sincerely Nuts, I believe, and you can get these wonderful 5-pound bags of macadamia nuts, which are fantastic. Just make sure when you eat nuts, you're going with raw nuts. You're not going with sweetened nuts. You're not going with roasted nuts. You're going with raw nuts, and keep those nuts cold. There's a quote for you. Should have phrased that one differently. Anyway, keep those in the refrigerator or the freezer, because the raw nuts and any nuts, they oxidize. There's a lot of fat in them, healthy fats. So keep them in the refrigerator or the freezer. And that would be my top recommendation for sure, is use the internet as your grocery store. Focus on what you do have available, and then make sure to take advantage of portable sources of protein and fats, such as the canned seafood, the canned meats, as well as nuts that are going to be raw and in your refrigerator. And again, please focus on what you can do, right? We live in a culture, again, where it's like, focus on the negative, right? We notice every red light we hit. We're driving, red light, another red light, but if we hit all the green lights, we don't even notice. And that's just human nature, right? That's how we're wired to work. But what do we have access to? What can we do very well? And let's make the most of that. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful. I use an MSG soup base to make traditional Filipino soup that I love. Is MSG sane? No, MSG is, thank you for asking this. MSG is horrible for you. I'm very sorry. I don't mean to burst your bubble or anything, and there's not a lot of things that I'd react this way to. MSG is short for monosodium glutamate, and it's one of the few food additives. So the best way to think of MSG is, sugar. We have different tastes, right? We have salty, sweet, bitter, umami, so on and so forth. Umami is a meaty or savory flavor. Sugar is an extracted concentrated version of the sweet flavor or provider of the sweet flavor. MSG is a synthetic form of the umami flavor. And the reason MSG is so terrifying is there are literally studies on rodents, because they can't do them on humans because it would be illegal, where we're giving the rodents MSG causes dose-dependent inflammation in the appetite centers of their brain. Unpacking that, giving rodents MSG makes them hungrier and have food cravings in direct proportion to the amount of MSG given to the rodents. Another way to say that, if you want to increase your appetite and food cravings, eat more MSG, because that's what it does. Unfortunately, it activates and overstimulates the ventromedial hypothalamus in your brain, which triggers cravings and it triggers overeating. So if there's any way that you could avoid MSG, please do. And one way to maybe do that, I don't think this would work for the soup, but while we're talking about umami and we're talking about those types of flavors, there are natural, healthy sources of that savory umami flavor that MSG tries to emulate. Two examples are shirataki mushrooms and coconut. Let's focus on coconut. If you've ever eaten curry or coconut in general, you'll notice that it has this really rich, creamy, decadent flavor. And it's just, oh my goodness. That's there's a huge concentration of natural umami flavor in that substance. So that's why it gives food that really savory flavor. So what you might want to try in your soup is maybe some shirataki mushrooms, because they are a natural, non-damaging source of that synthetic MSG, which is no good. So please avoid that if you can. And another interesting side note, in similar studies where the rodents had the neurological inflammation relative to the dose of MSG, they then administered omega-3 fatty acids, which a sane lifestyle loves. Right? People are like, what's the difference between sane and paleo? One of the big differences is that sane is like seafood. You can be a vegetarian sane all day because you don't have to eat meat. In fact, if you eat seafood, you're even better off because seafood is freaking fantastic for you. So omega-3 fatty acids had a dose-dependent reversal on that inflammation of the brain, in the brain, which is incredible, right? It's literally the more omega-3s people took in, the less inflammation in that appetite regulatory area of the brain they had, which is amazing. Food is medicine, nutritional therapy, awesomeness. Next question. Should I do food sensitivity testing or should I do a food elimination diet? If you want to try it, that's fine. I think for things like this, you want to be very careful about overcomplicating healthy. What I mean by that is just food sensitivity testing or an elimination diet is not a bad thing. However, it can be bad if it distracts you from non-starchy vegetables, nutrient-dense protein, whole food fats, low sugar fruits in that order. The idea of over-optimizing is real and it's very dangerous. Let me give you an example. If you wanted to run a marathon and you said that tomorrow I'm going to try to go outside and run 26 miles, and you did that, it wouldn't work out. You'd feel very discouraged and you'd say, okay, well, that didn't work. I'm going to try harder the day after to run 26 miles. It wouldn't work again. And you say, oh my goodness. Okay, now I'm going to go spend $200 on some wonderful running shoes and I'm going to listen to some motivational music. And now I'm going to go outside a third time and try to run 26 miles. And it wouldn't work. And you'd say, oh my gosh, something must be wrong with me. I give up. And unfortunately, that would mean that you would never run a marathon, when chances are I'm not advocating running marathons. But if you wanted to run a marathon, had you taken a different approach where on day 1 you walked around the block, on day 2 you walked around the block 2 times, on day 3 you walked around the block 3 times, on day 4 you jogged around the block once, on day whatever we're on you jogged around the block twice, and over the course of 12 months you worked your way up to 26 miles, you go run all the marathons you want. Not particularly good for you, but I'm illustrating a point. Food sensitivity testing is something that I would recommend doing when you're at 26 miles. right? When you've done everything else, when non-starchy vegetables, nutrient-dense protein, whole food fats, low sugar fruits, eccentric exercise, proper sleep, meditation, restoration, loving social relationships, and you've done that consistently for 6 months, and then you've even optimized your sane eating, you're eating optimal non-starchy vegetables, optimal nutrient-dense protein, optimal whole food fats, and optimal low sugar fruits, I can almost guarantee you that approach of gradual progress for 6 months to a year, and then if you want to do more, then doing the elimination diet and then doing food sensitivity training might be an option. But what I bet you will find is if you just keep sane simple and you give yourself permission to take time, that you will see phenomenal results. And of course, food, let's be very clear, we can all do food sensitivity testing at home, right? Try something, and if it makes you feel terrible, don't eat that. Eat something else instead. There are certain foods, I eat them, I get horrible digestive problems. I don't eat those foods anymore. I don't necessarily need to pay someone $1,000 to tell me that. It doesn't give me the results I want. So just do N of 1 experiments, a little trial and error on yourself, and just please give yourself permission to make gradual progress and to focus on the basics and then work your way up. And then once you've mastered the basics, then spend time on things like food sensitivity testing if you want, but please don't let them distract you from the big things. Another analogy, and forgive me, I'm getting a little bit warm here. Goodness sakes, we're getting serious here. Woo! Sane late at night. I bet you didn't know this was going to happen. No, just kidding. Another analogy is for things sometimes like with food sensitivity testing and some of these very expensive pills and blah, blah, blah. Imagine you walked outside and you saw that your neighbor's car was on fire, and then you saw your neighbor walk outside with a bottle of Windex and a washcloth, and the neighbor sees that a bird used the restroom on their windshield of their burning car, and your neighbor walks over with their Windex and starts to clean the windshield. And you say to your neighbor, "What are you doing? Your car is on fire. Do you need help?" And they're like, "No, I got this," as they continue to wipe the windshield. And you're like, "What are you doing? Your car is on fire." And they're like, "I know, but this bird poop on my windshield is bothering me." Well, there's no question that having bird poop on your windshield is unfortunate. We would all agree with that. However, your car is on fire. So sometimes that's how we need to think. There's an analogy for you. Sometimes we need to think of ourselves like burning cars with bird poop on us. Oh my, okay. That analogy did not work out really well, but you understand what I'm saying. When it comes to making changes in our life, let's not focus on the small things and let the small things distract us from putting out that baseline inflammation, right, that we talked about earlier. We are on fire and we need to put that out on a basic level. But there's so much distraction, there's so much shiny object stuff out there that it's very easy to get distracted from the fact that the car's on fire. Let's just put the car out, non-starchy vegetables, nutrient-dense protein, whole food fats, low sugar fruits. Let's keep it simple and let's keep it consistent. And let's give ourselves the self-love and the patience that we need to not fall victim to these magic quick fixes. Because again, I promise you, if there was a magic quick fix that worked, it would have worked already. And we'd all know about it. Obesity and diabetes are the single greatest economic burden that our country faces, period. McKinsey did a global analysis of the biggest economic problems facing the world. Violence of all forms was number one at like $2.1 trillion. And it was tied with drugs at $2.1 billion. And then next was obesity at $2 trillion. If there was a quick fix to this worldwide scourge that causes so much pain and heartache and avoidable suffering, we would all know about it, and whoever discovered it would win the Nobel Prize and would be on the cover of every magazine and would be celebrated as the greatest scientific breakthrough in the history of humankind. While that doesn't exist, healthy, proven healthy, sane foods do. and getting sufficient sleep does, and smarter exercise does, and loving yourself and having loving support does. And those 4 things are the closest thing to that miracle that you will ever find. And we can say miracle with confidence because it's not if they'll work, it's when they'll work. And depending on where we are, it takes more or less time. Depending on how big that fire is raging, it's going to take more or less time to put it out. And it also depends on how much water we're spraying on it, how consistently we're spraying water on it. But we got to just stay focused on that stuff. And that's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to save you a lot of heartache, and it's going to save you a lot of money. So hopefully that is helpful. All right, next. How can I get a stubborn family member / husband to go sane because I'm worried about their health? Unfortunately, there is no way to make any human being change. And that's an unfortunate answer. And but it is one of those things that's studied rigorously, because this doesn't just apply to eating, it applies to everything, right? Employers want their employees to change and do something. The government wants people to change. Law enforcement wants people to not speed. There's all sorts of areas where we want people to change. And really one of the only things that has shown to be effective in change is leading by example. And I know we've talked about this, and there is, maybe in a future call we could go deeper into the science of change, but I can shortcut it for you right here, which is until somebody feels a burning need to change and believes that they can change, and the burning need, so that's the want, and they truly believe that they can, the ability, they will not change. But here's the good news. The easiest way to prove to someone you love, or someone you don't love, someone you don't even like, that they can change and that maybe they should change, is to show them, is to live that example, is to, I think Gandhi said this, be the change you want to see in the world. Because when you start to manifest the optimal version of yourself, people will notice. I don't care if it's your husband, your wife, your spouse, your brother, your sister, your kids, your coworkers. When they see that sane version of you, that your life, your actions, your being will make a more compelling, rational, and emotional case than anything you could ever say, period. And what you'll probably see is they're not going to just go sane. They're not going to be like, you got me, I'm going sane. But what will happen is as you gradually demonstrate the beauty, and I mean beauty in all senses of the word, the beauty of giving your body the love and nutrition and rest and recovery and support that it deserves, and you radiate that out, it is impossible for the people around you to not be impacted. Now, will they go as sane as you? I don't know. Probably not. But will they accidentally start to go saner and stay that way for the rest of their lives without any tension? Yes. And unfortunately, it doesn't happen quickly. But if you give it time, it will happen gradually and permanently. And I don't know about you, but I think we've all experienced that quick that then goes away, right? Quick weight loss, long-term weight gain. Quick financial gain, then it all goes away, right? That's that, one-hit wonder kind of dynamic. Seems how that's the way the world works. Anything that comes too fast goes away just as fast and then stays gone. Whereas when you give that glorious example over time, the people you love and even the people you don't love are going to see that it will impact them. Will it impact them as quickly and as much as you want it to? Probably not, but I can promise you that it will impact them more and longer than any other approach. Hopefully that helps. All right, let's get some water. Water break. How can I go sane if I do not have access to grass-fed or organic in my rural area? Fantastic question. You do not have to eat grass-fed or organic to be sane at all. I consider both to be extra credit. So grass-fed is great. Organic is great. They're fantastic. So it's fantastic to eat organic spinach, and it is fantastic to eat grass-fed meat. You are still sane if you eat conventional spinach and you eat conventional lean meat. If you're going to eat corn-fed meat, corn-fed beef, it's got to be lean, because all the toxins from the feed is stored in the fat. But you are 100. You'll notice on the SANE spectrum, we don't say anything about organic or grass-fed being required. Now, optimally, it would be organic or grass-fed, but the good news is you can be 100% sane, 100% sane, while eating conventional sane foods with some slight optimizations. Like if you're eating corn-fed beef, it's got to be lean, versus if you're eating grass-fed beef, it will just be lean, because cows, like people who eat a lot of vegetables versus corn, are naturally slim, which is wonderful. So hopefully that helps and is encouraging. No, this is not a question. All right, I tend to store fat in my lower abdomen and find it difficult to shift this. What is the best way to trim this part of fat stores? Very important question to cover, because one of the biggest myths out there is this myth of localized fat loss. Like, hey, do this to make fat go away here, or do this to make lower abdominal fat go away, or do this to make your back fat go away. Here's a quick test to know if someone is telling you science or if someone is telling you myths. There has never been a scientific study in the history of the world that has demonstrated localized fat loss. Ever. Your body does not burn fat locally. Your body burns fat globally, and it stores fat globally. You cannot do crunches to make fat on your abdomen go away. It is just false. That's not the way your body works. The good news, though, is that what you do to burn fat on your abdomen is the same thing you do to burn fat on your lower arms, which is the same thing you do to burn fat here, which is the same thing you do to burn fat on your thighs. And it is to go sane. I don't mean to oversimplify things, but what's good is it is simple. It might not be easy, but it's simple. And that's really good news, is we just have to do it consistently. And the one thing that is unique about abdominal fat is unique in two ways. One is that it is the type of fat that is most closely correlated to health concerns. So if for no other reason, getting abdominal fat down is important, because it is directly correlated with all-cause mortality, things like that. But abdominal fat is often very much tied to hormonal imbalances. So if your goal is to reduce abdominal fat, cutting calories, nope, no, because starvation is always bad, but abdominal fat is very much tied to hormonal issues, and cutting calories does not fix hormonal issues. Increasing the quality of the calories that you eat does fix hormonal issues. So another bonus point for eating more but smarter. And if you want evidence of this, let's take two examples of big hormonal changes. One is menopause. One of the most common things that happens during and after menopause is something that some people not so affectionately call the menopause. The menopause is sometimes what is referred to as the part of your abdomen above your private region and below your belly button that tends to gain fat no matter what you do during and after menopause. That applies to women, and for men, what you will see is that as men start to drink a lot of beer, they develop what is called a beer belly. And that is not a euphemism, it's actually true, because one of the unfortunate things about drinking beer specifically is it raises estrogen levels. So it throws the male sex hormones out of balance. So a man can essentially put himself through menopause. Men actually do go through something called andropause later in life, but there is an irony to this masculine drink that is beer, is actually taking the male sex hormones and suppressing testosterone and increasing estrogen. And because of that, you will have men that have very, very skinny legs and very skinny arms and big fat bellies. And that is because of hormonal issues. Abdominal fat especially is dangerous, and abdominal fat especially is caused by hormonal issues. So please, the way you get rid of abdominal fat is the same way you get rid of any other type of fat, but it is especially important, and it is especially tied to your hormones. So it is especially critical that you don't allow that starvation and shame and stressful calorie counting mentality to guide you, because I promise you, not only will it not work, but it will make things worse, because starvation and eating those low calorie, low quality processed packaged foods actually cause the hormonal problems that cause the menopause. So please, just SANE, slowly, gradually, over time. You got to heal your hormones, and healing your hormones is like healing anything else. It doesn't happen fast. Right? You break your ankle, there's nothing you can do to fix it next week. And anyone who tells you that is a snake oil salesperson. But we can fix it. And it might take more or less time. If you're a 13-year-old and you break your ankle for the first time, it takes less time to heal than if you're 73 years old and you've broken your ankle 6 times in the past. But it can heal. We just need to give it the proper environment and the proper nutrition, and then the time that it needs. So please give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to be patient and to be sane. And whether it's fat stored on your arms, your thighs, or your belly, we're going to unclog your hormonal sink, as we like to say. We're going to rebalance those hormones, and we're going to allow your body to burn that fat off naturally. No starvation needed. All right. Oh my goodness. We got 9 minutes left. So there are a bunch of questions I didn't get to. Good news is we're going to have another call next week. So please come to that call, because every question that I don't get to this week, we're just going to carry over to next week, and I'm going to do them in order. So make sure you come next week. If you can't come next week, I'm still going to answer the questions, and then you can check out the recording. But I love it. Keep the questions coming in. We're going to get them answered. It's going to be awesome. I love it. I love all these questions. But I do apologize if I can't get to yours this week, but it will get done. It will get done. And it gives you, it's like the old show 24, which apparently is back on television now. I remember watching that and just being like, what's the next episode? Oh my gosh, I have to see the next episode. So we've got to leave you hanging with these calls so that you're excited for the next episode. All right, next one. Hey, Jonathan, is there a difference between whey protein isolate and whey protein concentrate? If so, which do you recommend? Thank you, Janine. There is a difference. Whey protein isolate is a chemically altered. So first of all, whey. Backing up, Little Miss Muffet. What is this guy talking about? Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet eating her curds and whey. The whey in that nursery rhyme is the whey we're talking about here. Milk has 2 primary proteins in it, casein and whey. Whey, found in milk, can be concentrated down. So that just means there's a physical process, not a chemical process, where the sugar molecules are taken out. So it's like it's put through a strainer. So you're left with whey, protein, and very little sugar. For example, if you drink a glass of milk, that's 8 ounces. An 8-ounce glass of milk has 8 grams of protein and 12 grams of sugar. It's because there's a lot of lactose. Well, when you take the protein, concentrate it down, specifically the whey protein, for example, like our SANE clean whey protein, a serving of that, you're getting 24 grams of protein and something like 2 to 4 grams of sugar, because the sugar has been removed. Not synthetically, not chemically, just physically. Take the sugar out. Whey protein isolate goes through a chemical process that just further refines it. And it depends on what you're trying to do. I would highly recommend whey protein concentrate over whey protein isolate for daily use. Whey protein isolate is not bad. It's good in certain sports contexts and athletic contexts, but whey protein concentrate is closer to a whole food. It contains a lot of other helpful things like immunoglobulins and other cofactors and antioxidants that are not found in as high of concentrations in whey isolate. So whey isolate is not bad. Whey protein concentrate would be better for daily use, and that's what whey is. Little Miss Muffet was being sane. That's why the spider couldn't mess with her. Little Miss Muffet and the spider came up beside her. Well, I guess it scared her away, but she was able to move quickly because she was sane. I think that's the takeaway. I have read your viewpoint on HIIT being the best option for workouts. I do like 50-minute to hour-long hikes in the deep woods with plenty of hills to climb. This is something I would be faithful at. Is there a downside to making this a primary workout 4 days a week? No, there is absolutely no downside to this. Hiking, biking, playing with your kids, gardening, things like that, we classify this as being active versus a form of exercise. And one of the ways to think of the difference between being active and exercising is if people did it 100 years ago, it's being active. Just being outside, walking, standing, that's being active. That's what people are here to do. And it's great. Be as active as you possibly can. Activity is always good. I work at a standing desk. It's changed my life. I used to have horrible chronic back pain, wrist pain. I had to get physical therapy. I wore a wrist brace throughout college. So I had to wear a wrist brace when I was 21. It's been 15 years and I'm in better health than I ever had. And part of that is because I work at a standing desk. So I'm not like this all day, because human beings are not meant to be like this all day. Human beings are meant to be active. So when it comes to smarter exercise, yes, that is the form of exercise that we recommend, but being active is always good. So it's kind of a nuanced answer. Being active, 100%. Do as much of it as you possibly can, no questions asked. Then when it comes time to exercise, when it comes time to do things that people didn't do 100 years ago, right? If you look up 1950s exercise on the internet, you're going to see some wacky stuff because nobody really exercised in the 1950s. I realize that wasn't 100 years ago, but that's kind of my point. Exercise is a new concept. So when you're going to do this new concept of exercise, that's when smarter exercise is great. Other than that, be as active as you possibly can. It's phenomenal for you. Loving going sane and getting 10 plus veggies a day, but sometimes life happens, aka business meeting with insane food. From a body healing point of view, which is better, skipping a meal altogether and not getting 10 full veggies, or going insane for a meal? Thanks, from Jennifer Froelich. Jennifer, I'm so sorry for mispronouncing your name. If at all possible, it is better to not eat than it is to eat toxic, insane foods. A canonical example here is if you have to skip breakfast or eat donuts and apple juice, which should you do? Absolutely skip breakfast. However, I would strongly encourage you, I think, and I know from experience from a lot of travels, that while the vegetables can be really hard, I mean, that's why we have Garden in My Glass and other stuff, it is really easy, I promise. If you've got a purse or a pocket or a briefcase or any kind of bag, get a SANE vanilla almond meal bar in there, right? And if you can find another bar that's a SANE, it's fine. There isn't one. That's why we created ours. But get, there are options. A bag of almonds, some all-natural jerky, a cravings killer, a peanut butter bite, a meal bar. Do anything you can not to put yourself in the position where you have to choose between SANE and nothing. There is that middle group of, like, when I travel, my breakfast is almost always a SANE vanilla almond meal bar, and I'm in my hotel room with a plastic spoon and Garden in My Glass. Eat that, and sometimes I have some chia seeds. I just eat literally a glass of chia seeds because I think it's tasty. So that some of that stuff might be a little bit more or less, you don't want to do it. But the meal bars, the jerkies, the nuts, I think those are a fantastic option rather than skipping a meal or starving. That said, if you have to choose between eating nothing and eating true insanity, I would recommend, let's call it fasting for that time period, and then go SANE as soon as you can. But please try to empower yourself to not have that situation, whether it's using SANE superfoods or whether it's using all natural jerkies or nuts or homemade protein bars, whatever you want to do. Hopefully that helps. Oh my goodness. All right. Holy moly. We're at time. This is amazing. You guys rock. We got so many questions, and I'm sorry that I wasn't able to get to all of them, but here's the good news. I promise you, I will literally answer all of them if you come to the next session. So please come to the next session. We're out of time for this session, but this has been amazing. Keep the questions coming. Before we close, I'm supposed to do a homework assignment. We've had so many questions that we haven't really, I didn't have time to think of a homework assignment on the spot, but I do have a homework assignment for you. And the homework assignment for you this week, because travel is such a big thing, and because the life happening is such a big thing, and Jennifer, I'm so appreciative to you for asking this question and it being the last one we answered, because I want us to work together to solve this problem. There's already a bunch of great resources in terms of eating on the go and eating when you're in a pinch, SANE eating when you're in a pinch in the Ignite program and in your support group. But here's my homework assignment. my homework assignment to you for this week, please do this, because the more of us that do it in the support group, the more we can help each other. And then maybe one of your SANE certified coaches can combine this into something. Actually, Raina already did this. Holy moly, SANE certified coach Raina. Okay, so two things. You have two homework assignments. One, Raina, SANE certified coach, already created an entire resource kit about this. So hopefully someone can post that in the chat soon. And your homework assignment is to read that. And then the second part of that homework assignment, hint to the SANE certified coaches who are on this call, the second part of your SANE homework assignment is to pop over in the support group, where I'm sure one of the SANE certified coaches will post that resource from Raina about eating on the go. And then jump in there and talk about your own ideas. Because if each one of us just throws out one idea, here's one thing I do when I travel, or here's one thing I do when I'm in a pinch to stay sane, together we can crowdsource an epic resource to build off of what SANE certified coach Raina has already created. So that is the homework assignment. That's one that I actually want to check out. So I'm very, very excited to see that. Check out Raina's post, which will hopefully be posted in the chat and will definitely be posted in the support group. And then let's work together to add our own ideas. And as always, let's summarize and close this session. Hopefully you've got this by now. We've put it everywhere throughout your program. It's your SANE reflection. This is a embodiment of what we've worked together on for the past 15 years. We actually worked with the SANE certified coaches, some amazing members of our community, to put this together. And it's a little bit like our new tradition here. Hopefully you've got this. Please print it out and read it aloud twice daily. Put it on your fridge, put it on your desk, because it will help you to stay sane. If you've got it, get it out. If you don't have it, please get it. Let's read it together here now. And thank you again. This has been an absolutely amazing 90 minutes. Oh my goodness, I see Wednesday posted it. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Wednesday. This has been an amazing 90 minutes. We are going to be back next week to pick up where we left off. So don't worry if your questions didn't get answered. They're going to get answered. This has been an epic, epic session. Thank you so much. And let's close by reflecting on our sanity together. If just tell me what to eat worked, I would be eating it already. If counting calories and points worked, I would be thin already. If trying to be perfect worked, I would be perfect already. So what works? Well, what haven't I tried? Courageous consistency, unconditional self-love, calm patience, sane eating. That is what works. To achieve a different result, I will take a different approach. Living sane works. It will. It's proven biology. So I will give myself the courageous consistency, unconditional self-love, calm patience, and proven sanity that I deserve. And with 6 months of patient, consistent, and self-loving sanity, I will permanently enjoy the energy, body, health, and happiness of my dreams. I will be sane. Thank you so much again. An amazing 90 minutes. We will be back next week. Stay sane, rock the homework assignment, and I will see you next week. Thank you again.